big fan of open dialogue, and I know that I don't agree with a lot of people, but I think that it's a unifying thing. It can be a destructive thing, but I think even more it's a unifying thing to be able to discuss topics. My name is Matt Reardon. I'm the Oxford Outlaw. Please share this live stream. All right, if you are tuning in live from the Oxford Outlaw page. So let me show you, y'all know I'm not afraid to take a stand for what I believe in. Saw a video last night, and this gentleman took a stand for what he believed in. I think it's probably what a lot of us think, especially if you're around Oxford, if you're around an area where it is a mandate to wear a mask. When I saw it, I thought of myself. I know a lot of y'all will probably think of what you think when it comes to that silly mask requirement that I find extremely unconstitutional and destined for just pure disaster. So I'm going to try this one more time.
We're waiting for 2 hours and now getting 2 minutes. I'll get right to the point. This board is pretending that for the last 3 months, your emperor, Dr. Levin, has not been against a mask declaration. Now, all of a sudden, we're pretending that masks are everything, even forcing speakers to use masks. I would like the board to take a position. Was Dr. Levin wrong for those 3 months? And if he was this wrong, why has he not been removed? Why has he not been fired for being so catastrophically wrong? Or do you not really believe he was wrong? You're just wearing these masks because it is a signal of your great virtue.
Damn!
Damn. Because for the last 3 months, we have not worn them, and Ventura County has done outstandingly well and continues to do outstandingly well because we are not Los Angeles, we are not New York City, we never were going to be any of those things. Ironically, this is one of the few things Dr. Levin was actually right about. He has been wrong about everything. He is the one who told us we would have 400 to 600 hospitalizations a day. He revised that to 200 to 400 a day. We still haven't reached that in 1 day. We're barely over 200 for the entire ordeal that you guys have put us through. We now are panicked over 51 total hospitalizations in a county with 8 hospitals. Can you people do math? Can you please do basic math and understand where we are on this? This is not a crisis. You, however, have created one. You, in an effort to try to prevent all death, when we've had 43 deaths, have now ended all relevant life. And you should all be ashamed of yourselves. And this will never be forgotten, ever be forgotten. You will all be held accountable eventually, in this life or the next. You all better hope there is no hell, because when you die, that's where you're going. And guess what? You're not going to be dying of COVID either. Thank you.
It's a night and day difference in society right now. You got to wear a mask to go indoors, and haven't you seen the latest trend? Haven't we seen the trend going on in society where one thing enables another thing, enables another thing, and one by one, our society's eroded away. I'm not trying to make this live stream about COVID. In fact, I think there's been too much hype around it. In fact, what I would like to do, what I would rather do, okay, is I'd rather have a talk about the spineless stores. We'll call them sheep. Okay? They're leading the pack in stupid rules. I know the other day we went to Best Buy, and I did a Periscope video on Best Buy, and I tell you, Best Buy is they are dead set in leading the pack, I think, because I hadn't seen another big box store that kept their doors closed, refusing to serve the public for as long as they did. They did it for a couple of months. I know me personally, I won't buy anything a big ticket item like a computer unless I can actually feel it out, unless I can look at it. And they were proud of the fact that they weren't letting anybody into the store. And the economy has a way of punishing people like that. Same way as I also talked about this story it was probably a week and a half ago now. My wife and I took our 2-year-old daughter, Anna Claire, to go get her first haircut. And we both needed cuts as well. And we pulled up to the King's Den in Oxford, right in front of the old movie theater. And because of the new COVID laws and regulations, I don't know if it was the owner, and actually my wife took our child there to the door, and whoever it was that worked there, whether it be the owner or an employee, if it's an employee, the owner better get a hold of him. If it's the owner, you probably need a good punishing by the economy. Because I'm telling you folks, our society is under attack by socialists wanting to just go in and just rip every frame part of our Constitution out like it was a used car they were replacing parts on. And this lady told my wife, she said, you can't come in. We can only because of the new COVID ordinance, we can only bring one at a time in. We can bring the kid in, and you stand right here at the door. Like, are you kidding me? Her first haircut? Business owners, those that run a business, you have a obligation to your customers. You have an obligation to yourself. You have an obligation to your family. You have an obligation to your business. That when something is morally out of line and it's something that you feel 100% in your convictions is immoral, is unconstitutional, it is right then and there. It's your place to stand up and to push back against the government. Nobody ever said the government was always right. In fact, look at the stuff I'm having to deal with on a daily basis just trying to vindicate myself, bring the truth to the plate. These are some of the biggest sleazeballs I've ever seen in my life, and it's absolutely disgusting. It's ridiculous that our society has digressed as much as it has. Now, it's not good enough just to wear your mask inside. Now you got to wear your mask outside. Let's go ahead and provoke a heat stroke as well. Like, are you serious? Since when is a thin paper mask, the CDC, the Department of Health, whatever agencies, Dr. Fauci, whatever his name is, 10 years from now, I feel like that this is going to be looked back upon as the biggest hoax played on America by the Democrats. And all it was a false flag way of trying to wreck President Donald Trump's economy that he brought to record numbers, to drive the unemployment rate through the roof in a situation that, if it was as serious as they were making it out to be, that no president could have done anything better than what our president has done. No way. I've seen this president do more, get more accomplished, keep his word when it came to his lofty list of campaign promises. And I doubt seriously we'll ever see another president that's that adamant on keeping his word to his constituents, to the United States citizens. In other news, Oxford Mayor Robyn Tannehill. We all know her by now. Those that have followed along with my story Riding with the Outlaw should definitely know who Robyn Tannehill is by now. And at the very least, know that she was a beneficiary to everything that happened back in 2017 when a cheap shot injunction was taken out on me by her husband representing her as her attorney. Spoke out in City Hall around May 15th, May 14th, somewhere around there. And the current mayor, Pat Patterson, wouldn't let me speak out, so I decided to speak anyways. I addressed the Board of Aldermen as well as the mayor, Pat. And I called every single one of them a cultural Marxist if they voted to keep the flag down, yet still take tax dollars from the state of Mississippi. I think that that's just, I think it's common sense, okay? And what it gets down to with that is the vote of the people matter. I think that right now you look at the current climate in Mississippi and people are mad. People are angry. They feel cheated. And they feel cheated because they didn't get a vote. Their voice did not matter. They left it up to the lawmakers. When the last referendum came through back in, I believe it was, 2002? It's about close to 70%, 65% in favor of the flag. And the state takes a controversial call to remove the flag, to not even have the flag on there as an option. And now there's a flag committee. Guess who is on this flag committee that was appointed to the flag committee? You're looking at her. None other than Robyn Tannehill. She was nominated by Delbert Hoseman. And I wish I would have had that video by Chris McDaniel. That was a phenomenal video that he did. But the reason why I have her picture up here, there is not a person that I despise more than a person that spreads fake news, that blows up a story that is not actually the case. Frederick Nettles. He's got a podcast, Fred Net Sports. He was pulled over in Oxford, and he came out saying that he felt in fear of his life. He's thankful that he survived. And those that know me know that I, for one, it's about time we take color out of the equation, because there's no way that any of this stuff is ever going to resolve itself peacefully until color is taken out of the equation. All right? All lives matter. Okay? No matter what way you look at it, Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, Mexican Lives Matter, Chinese Lives Matter, even though the China virus came out of there, that the Democrats love to hype up. It's funny because there have been way more deaths of the flu than the coronavirus. And you say, well, there's no vaccine yet for the coronavirus, for COVID-19. I'm not putting a COVID-19 shot in me. Period. Period. Something that I believe was a product of Gates and Fauci. Gates had a patent on COVID-19. How the hell do you have a patent on a virus? So anyways, Frederick Nettles comes out. He says this about the Oxford Police Department. The police department, they released a video showing that it was a definite over-exaggeration. Okay? That stuff is very unhealthy. It's very toxic to spread things like that. But I'll tell you one thing that's more toxic, and that is a hypocritical socialist mayor that refuses to acknowledge an actual problem where there's been actual evidence produced. And maybe that's because at the very bare minimum she was a beneficiary to everything. But from all looks, from the way the dates lined up, how she was elected mayor exactly 1 week after my bond hearing, where I was not even allowed to show how the state had absolutely no proof of their witch hunt allegation, and how I actually had 100% proof that would exonerate me of their bogus charge. Meanwhile, I'm getting hit with, back in 2017, with false allegation by my ex. And what would become ultimately at the end of the day, a quid pro quo phenomenon that enabled her ultimately to get full control, full custody of my daughter, to take my daughter away. It helped slide a political opponent of Robyn Tannehill out of the way. In fact, the one that probably brought the most heat. The one that refused to back down. The one that didn't sugarcoat the things he said. Would just tell it like it is, like I do right now. But you see, when you really get into the intricacy of everything, you start looking at ways that this whole thing benefited the parties that it benefited. I remember she was sworn into office, I think it was like 29th or something like that. It was the last Thursday in June. It was exactly 1 week later that a magical plea deal came down the hopper to my attorney, who knew Ray Tannehill very well, Robyn's husband. And he says, they're going to railroad you if you don't take this plea deal. They're going to stack charges on so they can get a guaranteed conviction. So one way or the other, you either plea out so you can fight for your daughter, get your daughter, or you get hit by additional charges so they can send you up the road to Parchment. I'd never been accused of a felony crime. Ever. And, you know, the confusion around everything. How this felt so orchestrated. $150,000 bond set by a Democrat judge Justice Court judge, by the way. Justice Court judge. I found out last night. Okay, I actually pulled, there's an Article 6 of the Mississippi Constitution. Justice Court judges in Mississippi need not a legal degree, a law license. They need not a college degree to be a justice court judge in Mississippi, where you can decide the bond on a felony charge. And I need to read into that a little further, because it appeared by reading that it had to have been a crime where the sentence would be served out in the county jail and or a fine imposed. However, the crime that they charged me with, they decided to pick a crime that would give a max of 5 years, and they committed me over to MDOC for that term, banished me from the city of Oxford, pled out because I needed to get out so I could fight to get my daughter. I was under a world of stress, and I took the advice of a crooked attorney, Brendan Horan. Crooked as the day is long. All right, look, so still crickets out of the Tannehill camp, okay? She goes on with Frederick Nettles, even to what I would actually escalate to what would be extortion, saying that she was meeting with the chief of police, the Oxford chief of police, the next day, and that if he didn't show up at 10 o'clock, I believe it was 10 o'clock, that she would go to any and all steps, I believe, to protect the name of Oxford. But force a meeting on a guy. Now, granted, I don't agree with what he said, but you know what? I disagree with her actions even more. The actions of this woman are absolutely dangerous to our society. Dangerous. And now she's trying to challenge the county, the ground for which the Confederate statue stands, to try to assert that that is actually city property and not county, for the sole purpose of uprooting that statue, moving it somewhere else, and of course we know the dangers that can come with moving something that's 110 years old. It's destructive, and it will never, ever, ever stop at that. Precedence. It's a key thing. It's a reason why you better step up, and you better step up real soon, folks. Real soon. Right here with me, if society is actually trained to turn a blind eye to this, if these agencies can actually get away with obstructing justice and hiding key evidence and refusing to cooperate in producing it in order to exonerate an innocent man who is continuously catching shit in what is an ongoing witch hunt. It's just ridiculous. Take a trip into the life of Matt Reardon for a day. So, I am going to, episode 2 on my podcast, something that I have not mixed down a video of yet. And I think, honestly, it's one of my favorite parts. It involves the U.S. Attorney's Office. And in fact, the U.S. Attorney's Office has shown their involvement even more here recently. Right after that, I'm going to show you the special. In fact, that's going to probably that's actually going to take me over an hour. All right. So this is going to turn into about an hour and 15-minute live stream. We're at 40 minutes right now. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get this started without any further waiting. And then I'm going to touch on the letter that is sent to Washington, D.C., to the Department of Justice. Attention to the Attorney General, William.
Good afternoon, U.S. Attorney's Office.
Yes, ma'am. I'm trying to figure out who I need to speak with. Who oversees y'all's department?
It's the Department of Justice, is that what you're asking?
Yes. Okay. Would I need to contact Jackson, or I'm trying to? I feel like y'all's main job is not being done at all. I mean, I'm a citizen of the state of Mississippi. I was framed in what I think is the largest public corruption scandal. It involves people in the local government in Oxford. I've been calling now for 2 weeks. I've been leaving messages. I got a call that I missed last Friday, and I left a message, a voicemail 2 days ago. I don't know what could be more important. Like, in 2 weeks' time, not getting one phone call. Y'all are the U.S. Attorney's Office, and something this big, somebody should have reached out to me by now.
Okay, one moment. I'm unable to assist you in this situation because I'm not exactly sure what's going on. But I'm going to transfer you to someone who can hopefully help you.
I hope I can speak to somebody finally.
This is Robyn. Sorry I'm away from my phone right now. If you leave a message, I will call you back as soon as possible. Thank you.
Robyn, this is Matt Reardon. I left you a message 2-3 days ago now. I've been calling up there for about the past 2 weeks in regards to what I think is quite likely one of the largest public corruption scandals in the state of Mississippi. And I can't even get the U.S. Attorney's Office to give me a call back. It's a damn shame. So clearly I'm probably just going to have to go this route on my own. I take it that just from not even getting a call back, the U.S. Attorney's Office is not interested in investigating this, much less hearing about it. So if you're in the office today, please give me a call back, 662-32. I got to be honest with you. It really, really bothers me because the agency's tasked with protecting the American people through not even responding. Do not even help, are hurting the American citizens. And I'd like to think that that's not what's going on up there. But 2 weeks' time, and I've stressed the importance of this, my time is running out. The statute of limitations is running out. Please give me a call, 662-32. Thank you.
All in all, it was the proven corrupt acts of our government branches and its complete abuses of power that caused me to lose trust and hope in our government. Lack of trust and faith in our government's alphabet agencies by ways of these agencies selectively enforcing the law, and even worse, persecuting innocent citizens based on political reasons. Politics has absolutely no place in law enforcement, and it definitely has no place in the courts. The courts should condemn this behavior. Sanctions and slap on the wrist are never enough when it comes to the rights of a citizen being trampled on at the hands of a public corruption scam. Public corruption, especially involving government officials working in an official capacity, warrant nothing shy, in my opinion, of capital punishment due to its absolute treasonous nature, not to mention the peace, dignity, and integrity of the state and our government that may never fully recover. The true criminals seemingly are never sought, and even more, never prosecuted. Instead, law-abiding citizens are accused of crimes they did not nor would not ever commit. They are pressured, and some are even threatened through targeting of others close to them. The threat of lengthy incarceration and the concern that every parent should have of both providing for and being there for their children. I didn't stand a chance on my own at the time everything happened, when you take into consideration all the different factors in one of the best thought out, highly connected, and tightly woven conspiracies that protected those involved, being that all three branches of local government, the executive, legislative, and even judicial, were involved, along with multiple attorneys and at least one federal three-letter alphabet agency, the FBI. It was local law enforcement that framed me. It was law enforcement on a federal level that stood by doing absolutely nothing at all, while all along having proof that I couldn't have possibly committed the crime in question. It was no different than a lifeguard whose sole job is to keep watch and to keep those swimming safe. What would you do? What would you think if you saw the lifeguard standing around with his hand in a cookie jar just watching a child drown? Especially if you were too far away to save the kid yourself. You'd feel as if the lifeguard caused the child to die by neglect from not acting. Anger, confusion, and untrusting of that lifeguard would be pretty fair emotions that most would exhibit. Would you allow your child to swim unattended under that lifeguard's watch? Or would that one incident cause you to permanently lose trust in that lifeguard? Even all lifeguards, for that matter. Now imagine being framed for something way out in left field. Imagine being treated like a prisoner at Guantanamo Bay, being shackled at the wrist, waist, and ankles in an orange jumpsuit, and walked via 2 to 3 deputies out in the most public of spaces and into the famous and ancient courthouse in the middle of the city, where over the weeks prior you had so proudly stood, cherishing and showing public support for the very freedoms afforded to every citizen. The freedoms that now landed you in this very place, and done for 3 reasons in particular. One of them being a publicity stunt brought about through their all-out assassination of a private citizen's rights. Shockingly, that's not the worst. I'm directly holding the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office accountable for turning a blind eye and choosing to obstruct, in their own ways, my ability to properly seek vindication based on evidence. The local government will have to answer to several integrity questions posed, such as their so easily allowing banishment on a sentence, and also its protecting its dirty ways through methods such as covenants to not sue. I intend to prove that which I already know, the motive. the reasons for which, why I was the fall guy for this. My experiences are like something you'd read in a John Grisham novel. But this is not a John Grisham book. After all, nobody can write the book about me better than me, as it was me who lived my life and witnessed these atrocities. And after everything, it's changed me. It's hardened me. My fears have changed, feeling numb to the things that caused fear before. In fact, just about the only fear recirculating through me is fear of failure. Fear of them winning and getting away with everything at the expense of my liberties and happiness in life. Fortunately, however, it's made me more patriotic than ever to help prevent others and future generations from experiencing the same types of injustices. And that is what I have to look forward to. My mentality is in fact that of a sovereign citizen. I am independent and not relying on our government to survive, or to help me for that matter. And so long as these types of injustices continue to happen, I will stay that way, because I was independent in the wake and aftermath of a well-plotted combination of events that left me completely strained and feeling hopeless both mentally and financially. I hope my story...
Okay, so that was episode 2, the second part. While I was on that break, while y'all were listening to that, I found the message that I was referencing that I thought closely rose to that of extortion. Not to mention the hypocrisy, the disgusting hypocrisy shown. For this mayor to come in to truly find benefit in my framing, to hear all the evidence and see all the evidence that I've produced of such through writing with the Outlaw, and for her to not even make the first remark, for there to be crickets out of her office, definitely is reason to bring concern. Why are you being quiet, Robyn? Why? This is something serious enough that I'm compelling you to respond. You have I believe that in your public position, your public office position, I believe that you have a obligation to answer this. Who do you go to when the agencies that are tasked with preventing this type of heinous crime, when they're part of the problem? Bob Norman, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Assistant U.S. Attorney, he is a piece of work, let me tell you. He is a piece of work. All right. So, I'm going to play this for you. This is probably my favorite. I did this outside of the U.S. Attorney's Office. Did it last week. And I thought this is probably the best production yet. ridiculously hot outside. It was a coincidence. It was a little bit more probably than a coincidence that my feed was cut out here, of all places. Welcome, welcome, welcome. For those that are on here, I'm Matt Reardon, the Oxford Outlaw. If you do not know me, I've been covering my own political framing back in 2017. And on Friday, I hand-delivered my letter here to the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Northern District of Mississippi, right to the hands of Assistant U.S. Attorney Bob Norman. I did so on those very steps right there. Bob gaffed it off. I asked him if he remembered me. I had put my trust in this Assistant U.S. Attorney back in May of 2017 when I had a death threat issued to me, when my right to free speech and in petitioning the government for a redress of grievances was ultimately shot and destroyed by the Tannehills, the incoming mayor of Oxford, Democrat, socialist mayor. I was on the agenda to speak out June 6th, the day of the election, and that was effectively canceled when an emergency injunction was taken out on me, barring me, keeping me 500 yards from the soon-to-be incoming mayor. My wife just brought me a snow cone, and on a hot day like today, a snow cone really does help. Okay, so to fill you in, Friday I hand delivered my inked letter to blowhard Assistant U.S. Attorney Bob Norman, and I didn't have that nickname for him before until I figured out that his corrupt ass was part of the problem. So, what happened? I said, "Do you remember me?" He said, "I do." And he looked at me when he first saw me like he already knew exactly who I was. I knew he knew who I was. I just couldn't remember what his name was. I put my trust in this Assistant U.S. Attorney to guide me in the right direction, or to take the evidence I already had and do something about it. The problem is, because I'm not a disgusting liberal, because I'm not a socialist, because I'm not a Democrat, because I don't fit the agenda of this city that they're aggressively trying to shove down the throats of the citizens in this area, because I take a stand for what's right, for the Constitution, for Southern heritage. I had information that would have had ramifications on the incoming mayor and her husband back in May of 2017. I told Bob I was trying to find out why the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District, which has a fiduciary responsibility, a moral responsibility to investigate crimes of corruption and certainly to prosecute them if they exist, why over about 2 months' time I got the runaround, I got kicked to the back. They refused to give me a call and look at all the evidence that I had gathered in regards to this being 100% framed, my civil rights being conspired upon to be removed. He wouldn't give me an answer. I had requested, and I have been long now in wait of, the 302 investigative report generated by the FBI from a sit-down meeting that I had with him May 25th, 2017, where I discussed the death threat that was on me, where I discussed how my rights, my civil rights, my First Amendment right to speak, as well as petition the government for a redress of grievances, how that was thrown away due to a cheap shot injunction. And anytime the FBI meets with a citizen, anytime that there's any kind of interview, especially at a field office like it was done, it's supposed to be done in the presence of a second agent. And that was the case. There were two agents that sat down with me in the conference room of the local field branch office in Oxford, Mississippi. In a FOIA request, a public records request, I have requested the 302 from that sit-down meeting to corroborate everything that I've said. I also know that the FBI is a politicized weapon. They've been a politicized weapon. They especially were activated as a political weapon when the 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, was elected to office. You see the proof with General Flynn, how the crooked FBI illegally wiretapped him in order to purposefully frame him to try to get inside of the Trump organization. And so I know not to trust the FBI to do the right thing. So in addition to this 302, which is missing according to the FBI, they will not respond to it, I also requested the video evidence of this sit-down meeting to corroborate the accuracy of the 302. And what do you know? The video is deleted after a certain amount of time that they could not specify the amount of time. They simply said that it's up to their technicians to determine. So when I pressed Bob Norman for this, for why they sat by with a moral and fiduciary obligation to answer the call for help, to prevent public corruption, he wouldn't give me an answer. I asked him about why his office would not even so much as return a phone call to examine the evidence. He would not give me an answer. I said, Bob, your office, and this is why I put together the open letter that I did, because whether or not the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Mississippi wants to provide answer or not, that letter needs to go on file at the Department of Justice in Washington, addressed to Attorney General William Barr. This corrupt bullshit has gone on long enough. It's affected enough lives, it's destroyed enough lives, and God knows it's destroyed mine. Marine Corps veteran, patriotic citizen. My rights are brutally trampled on, and nobody seems to give a shit. And what is apparently a dumbed down society from people drinking the Kool-Aid that's been given by our government pushing some kind of alternate plan here. And I have full faith and confidence in our Commander-in-Chief, Donald Trump. There are enemies of our country embedded in the alphabet agencies, such as this right here: the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, that are directly causing significant harm to our society. They're not going to stop. They're not going to back down until they completely destroy it. And it's on the citizens themselves to step up and grab the reins and either do something about it or allow it to happen. And if you allow it to happen, you're not going to have your opportunity to save it later. And that's why I'm taking the aggressive approach that I'm taking, and trying to vindicate myself through writing with the Outlaw, to trying to get to answers. Assistant U.S. Attorney Bob Norman, when I told him that he and his office had a moral and fiduciary obligation to protect American citizens, to go after, to prosecute the real criminals. His answer to me, which was absolutely gawking, was our office is protecting is protecting the public from criminals such as yourself, knowing that everything, the letter, the DVD that I just gave him, everything that I've uncovered and I've published, there's absolutely no way I could have possibly committed the crime that they accused me of. The FBI knew it. That's why the 302 is missing. That's why they will not respond to the FOIA request. That's also why the Sheriff's Department in Lafayette County, as well as the Lafayette County's attorney, when pressed for details about that May 24th, 2017 phone call, which through the Sheriff's Office, through their own admission, was what sparked the warrant, what generated the warrant for them to come after me, for them to ambush me on the square in Oxford when I was going to a bar to sit down with a friend to have a beer on May 26th. That was what that came from. And this blowhard U.S. attorney wants to call me a criminal. He's the criminal. He's the problem. He is directly the problem. I wonder how many of these vehicles with dark tint driving by are FBI, the investigative arm of the U.S. Attorney's Office. These people picked a fight with the wrong one. Because honestly, like I said at the beginning, they can try what they want to try. This time around, I don't care. I'm not selling my soul to the devil a second time and pleading out to some bullshit that I didn't do. I'll sit it out like a patriot would, proving my innocence. I'm not allowing this to happen. Because see, here's the thing. I got 4 kids. I got 3 that are biologically mine. All of them are girls. And if I sit back and allow this to happen, if society as a whole has been trained to turn a blind eye to something such as this, if agencies are allowed to conjure up anything that they want to conjure up in order to politically motivate another, in order to remove the liability off of an agency that made a false arrest at the beginning of that month, well then, my daughters, unfortunately, don't have a future or a shot in America anyways. Because America will have long consumed itself before then. So I owe it to them, and I also am doing this to help prevent something like this from happening again. The true criminals need to be held responsible. I couldn't remember if it was May 24th or May 25th that I met with Bob Norman, the Assistant U.S. Attorney, who then directed me to go and speak with the FBI about the issue. But my wife actually told me that she remembers fairly well that it was May 24th, 2017, that I spoke with Bob Norman. And May 24th, 2017 was coincidentally the day that the mystery phone call came into the Lafayette County Sheriff's Department, investigator Jared Bunder. And after the response that Bob Norman gave me on Friday for simply trying to hold his office accountable, for simply asking why they would not return a single phone call in regards to what was alleged as horrible public corruption nightmare. A quid pro quo deal that benefited four separate parties, including the incoming mayor of Oxford, two bar owners, who they themselves were the one that started the little back and forth on Facebook, on social media. It benefited the Sheriff's Department in Lafayette County through the sham arrest that Timmy Pruitt made May 1st, arresting me standing in front of the Confederate statue in Oxford on the square, holding the state flag of Mississippi, because I didn't have a permit, and I asked him what his badge number was because he lazily forgot to put it on his uniform. That enraged him, and he made a wrongful arrest. And it also benefited the mother of my now 6-year-old child, who has been used as a chess piece against me in a staged war of the courts, which, by the way, her attorney in the original child custody, the husband of the Oxford mayor. Ray Tannehill, by the way, 3 days ago, was appointed by the Mississippi Supreme Court, was appointed to the Mississippi Bar Tribunal. You know, the people that ultimately decide if there was wrongful conduct committed by an attorney. He himself is part of this, played a huge part. In fact, I don't think that any of this would have gone on if it weren't for Ray Tannehill's involvement. I don't. And how someone like himself gets appointed by the Mississippi Supreme Court to a position that he had absolutely no reason being in light of the serious allegations made, is beyond me. And it just shows how much tougher of an uphill battle this is going to be. They are, one by one, maneuvering pegs in place. I myself am, one by one, putting pegs in place to, at the end of the day, be victorious in vindicating myself, doing it in the in the name of justice and patriotism and to bring the truly responsible parties to justice. In that open letter, go read it if you haven't read it yet. There's a landmark U.S. Supreme Court ruling by the late and great Judge Antonin Scalia. It was United States versus Williams, in which he ruled that the grand jury does not belong to any of the three branches of government. Rather, the grand jury belongs 100% in its entirety to we the people. And that by that, the citizenry are empowered to impanel a citizen's grand jury to present evidence, to obtain indictments, to try and to mete out punishment to those convicted. And I want this office right here behind me to do their job, to quit kicking the can down the road, to quit passing the buck, to do the job that they're tasked with doing, to produce the evidence requested, to give answer to the questions stated in the letter, although I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be sending it to D.C. without any answers from the U.S. Attorney, and that's just fine. But I think it's very ironic, I find it actually quite humorous, that 30 minutes until 5 o'clock, there isn't a soul at the U.S. Attorney's office in the parking lot. Not only did they not fulfill their duties that they're tasked with, but not a soul up here working at 4:30. And these people are paid for by, guess who? You. Hold your people accountable. You only have one chance to do this. It's nearing bad times in America. Soros is trying to usher this in. Gates is trying to usher this in. Socialists are trying to usher this in. Take a stand for America before it's too late, folks. Matt Reardon, the Oxford Outlaw. Thanks for tuning in. Share this live stream. I'm not. I know that too much doesn't make sense. I know that there's a lot. This entire thing does not make sense to me as far as what happened here. For me to have been framed by our government, the government that we are supposed to trust, and unfortunately, the furthest from that. For the level of care shown, for the level of cruelty to take a patriotic American and a Marine Corps veteran who ultimately, a decade prior, 2007, wrote a blank check to this very government for an amount up to his life, and to so viciously be tossed to the dogs, to be completely demonized, for this local government to have literally sent splinters through this area and the surrounding area. And not just splinters, millions of splinters. So many splinters I'll never be able to fully recover from. Every day I see people that I don't even know in this area saying the most god-awful things, lies, rumors that were started by this county government. And to cower down like a weak little bitch with their covenant to not sue. For the FBI to think they're all high and mighty. They're too big. They're too elite. Where he's not going to do anything. The best comparison to make is comparing the FBI to being a lifeguard that was assigned to watch over a swimming pool of kids. And that lifeguard is sitting there with his hand stuck in the cookie jar, just watching a child drown. Meanwhile, there's an onlooker that's watching all this. But they're too far away to save the kid. Imagine what that parent, what that onlooker would be thinking about the lifeguard. About all lifeguards, for that matter. And now swap that lifeguard out with the FBI. Tasked with preventing government corruption, public corruption. Supposed to investigate and prosecute those in the government that use their elected or appointed positions to strike evil upon innocent citizens. I directly hold the FBI liable, and even criminally liable, for everything that happened. Hence the reason I inked the letter today. I want answers. And I want somebody's ass. I want several people. Every co-conspirator in this awful, wicked plot deserves a punishment that would help deter any other across the country. Okay. Hope you enjoyed that segment. Touched on quite a few of the videos that I've already posted. Turn that down. I touched on some topics that needed to be touched on. I'm still awaiting an answer. I find it incomprehensible for a public official of an elected office to refuse to address an issue as serious as the civil rights of a citizen being absolutely slayed. But can find the time to pick apart somebody's false narrative and have the audacity to speak to the destruction that lies can cause. Well, if that's not the pot calling the kettle black, moves on you, Robyn. Alright, so I'm gonna get off here. I'm way past what I plan on going. I will tell you that you can see the open letter right here. You can see it on the Facebook page. I still have not put it on the website. I've got